Crypto has had a big year. Bitcoin is up over 150%. Much of that concentrated in this past fall's performance, a big Q4. The rally is largely on investor hopes of SEC approvals for spot Bitcoin ETFs. Joining us now with more on crypto and whether the good news is already priced in, Perianne Boring, founder and CEO of Chamber of Digital Commerce. Perianne, thanks for being here. So let's start there. Do you think that the good news is already priced in? There are some current concerns out there that if and when the spot Bitcoin ETF is officially approved, that it would be kind of a sell on the news event. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't, because there is a lot of pent up demand for access to Bitcoin. You have to understand that the government has been putting its thumb on the scale of innovation and preventing publicly listed Bitcoin products from coming to market. Now that a spot Bitcoin ETF will be here soon, it's not an if event, it's a when event. There is a lot of people who want exposure who will now have access to it. When you add a small amount of Bitcoin to a portfolio, it increases the Sharpe ratio. And that is why there is so much interest in this asset class. I really like what Michael Saylor and Natalie Brunell said about Bitcoin earlier this week. They said Bitcoin's empowerment technology, and I'm going to add on to this. Bitcoin is going to empower financial advisors to allocate, again, because it increases the Sharpe ratio. And I think a case could even be made that if you're a fiduciary, you have a responsibility of adding Bitcoin to a portfolio because of how it performs.
Why does it invariably increase the Sharpe ratio, which for our viewers out there, it's a way that institutional investors calculate risk-adjusted returns? In including it, you also need to include some sort of hedging mechanism, maybe through a spot ETF or otherwise, to ensure that those returns are, in fact, adjusted according to their risk profile.
Yeah, when you add a small amount of Bitcoin to an investment portfolio, the risk goes down as well as the volatility goes down. And that's why the Sharpe ratio goes up. But what's really important about a spot Bitcoin ETF is that it allows financial advisors to be able to allocate their clients' portfolios to this asset class. Prior to having a spot Bitcoin ETF, which is pending, it's imminent, financial advisors couldn't really help their clients navigate this new asset class. Investors would have to leave the financial advisory and go navigate this ecosystem on their own. So now this empowers the financial advisors to service their clients directly on this new asset class of Bitcoin.
Okay, we don't know what the future of Bitcoin trading looks like in terms of it going up or down. But in terms of just the desire of institutions to buy Bitcoin, what are you hearing in terms of just that marginal demand that is out there? Do you have any numbers or figures in terms of just the people who haven't been able to get exposure to this asset class that may soon want to?
Yeah, we use valuation models to try to understand what is the value of Bitcoin today. We all know what the price is. It's what it's trading for on exchanges, which operate 24/7. But the real question that we need to understand, investors need to understand, is what is the value? We use 4 different valuation models. Today, it has the price of Bitcoin currently valued between $100,000 and $210,000 per Bitcoin. We also apply an S-curve analysis to look at the long-term adoption of Bitcoin. Currently, about 40% of U.S. households have already allocated and own some form of cryptocurrency today. We are on track for 90% adoption by 2029. Once we hit that 90% adoption, prices could go as high as $1 million a coin, because again, Bitcoin has that limited supply, which is a key feature of this technology.
So there's a lot of ifs there, but I just got to ask, if that's the case, what happens when governments introduce their own digital currency?
Well, I mean, we've already seen central bank digital currencies be introduced around the world. Most notably, China has really been the global leader in bringing the digital yuan to market. We believe that this is surveillance technology that will be used to control an entire population. CBDCs can be incredibly dangerous. I do not believe that Bitcoin is necessarily a direct competitor to CBDCs. I also think that Bitcoin can coexist with fiat money, whether it's in the form of a central bank digital currency or the type of technology central banks are using today, the legacy technology. Bitcoin is largely being used as a store of value. That's a different use case and a different application than currency. So I don't think we need to pen Bitcoin up against as an adversary to the US dollar. For years, for 14 years, they've coexisted. And it's also helping extend the use of the US dollar internationally.